Welcome back to Melisia Talks, where we talk all things uniquely you, summertime edition. And if you've been tuning in for the past two episodes, you will know that we have been discussing Cruise Ship Chronicles. Yes, exploring back and looking at the cruise that my husband and I took this month. And again, this was in July for our 20th anniversary. God is faithful. And so the final thing, and this is not going to be long today, just a snippet episode, but the final thing that I did want to go into a little bit more detail about was the room. I did mention that and this was in episode number one. So if you have not listened to episodes one and two, be sure to do that. But this is the last one for this month in this series. But the room, I mentioned in the first one episode that we went to our room, we put our thing clean first and then put our things away. I do want to talk about the different types of rooms that you can look to purchase for the cruise and all that we did to ensure that our room was clean. First and foremost, you have your interior rooms. The interior rooms are not really large. As we are walking through the hallways as they are cleaning, you can see room doors that are open and just keep walking through. But if you get a quick little glimpse, which is what we've done into the interior rooms, they're not really big. And so I do recommend interior rooms for people who might have, little children and you don't want a window, but, just want to make sure they're safe. Or if you have motion issues or, motion sickness issues or things like that, you don't want to look out the window or anything of the sort, or financially, if that's best for you, then choose those rooms. But just keeping in mind, they're not always that big with the interior rooms, and so space can be limited. The next room that you can look to get is your room that has just a window. And, you can get one of these rooms, the window is there, and you want to always make sure that you're hopefully choosing a room that does not have anything that's going to block that view, because usually or sometimes they can put those rooms next to rooms that have balconies. And, if you look out that window and you're looking to the right or left and there's a balcony room, that's going to be something blocking your view. So definitely reach out to the company that you're booking with to make sure that it's not a room that's going to have your view fully obstructed or obstructed in any way. That is the best way to go. And then, so that is the window room, and the size for those rooms depends upon whether or not, well, the size is pretty much the same, but how they set it up, you can request to have your room with the two smaller beds put together, which makes a queen size bed, or keeping them separate. The bathroom in those rooms does not have a tub. It's usually just a shower enclosure. And when I say enclosure, it is an enclosure that's pretty small. So you want to make sure that you are keeping that in mind with your sink right next to the toilet and everything else. And then you have space for your closet and to put your items and, dresser drawers as well. Pretty straightforward, not that large, but definitely large enough for maybe 2 to 3 or maybe even 4 people if they're not, full on adults. And then you have next your balcony rooms. These can come in different sizes. The only difference with them is that they're a bit larger, of course, than the room with just the window. They're definitely larger than your interior rooms, but you do have a balcony, which is great. And I don't recommend balconies for people who have small children. Although there is a glass that's there that's probably taller than them, you just don't want to take that chance. So, having that table and two chairs out on the balcony, you do have two types of obstructions that's there in between you and the two other balcony rooms next to you, but you can still hear everything that they're saying. If your door is closed, you really can't hear anybody when they're on the balcony unless they're very loud. But once you're out on the balcony, you're going to hear everything. And, it's just beautiful to be able to see if you're one of those people like me. I like to know that it's daylight. I like to know that we are pulling into a port. And one of my favorite things to do is to wake up early whenever I know we're pulling into port somewhere and just watch us pull in and see, the scenery of the island or wherever you're going that you're approaching. It is just so serene. And I have so many pictures of just those moments. And I know the time that we're supposed to dock. So I'm always making sure that I jump up, set my alarm to get up to be able to get out there and see what's actually happening. And just how, sometimes that huge ship, they are circling to back into those areas, and how those that work with the ship to pull in those large, ropes that look to anchor it. It's such an amazing, process. And maybe it's just me, but I love to watch that process. And again, even seeing the sun come up where you are, it's just a beautiful, serene moment. I love those moments. And it's funny because everybody else is always asleep and I am jumping up and, getting out there to see this moment happen. And so that's one of the other great things about having a balcony room. And even when you're back in your room, just to be able to sit and just reflect, take in the moment, just be in the moment, with God and nature as we're sailing. I love those moments. So if anybody wants to ever bless me with a moment to have on a cruise ship with a balcony room, by all means do it. My cash app is my name. Melisia Robinson. But anyways, those moments are very, very key for me. And then when you're sailing away from those ports, having a balcony room is amazing because you don't have to go up to one of the other decks, the main deck, which is outside, to see the sail away. You can be right there in your room at your balcony waving goodbye to anybody that's on land or the next ship that was next to you. When we docked in Costa Maya, we were next to Icon of the Seas. And if you know Icon of the Seas with the Royal Caribbean, oh my goodness, it is huge, huge. Oh my gosh. They say over 8,700 people, 8,700 people that's around the number that this ship will hold. And it looks like literally that many people was on this ship. It is huge. There's so many different activities and amenities that you can just see from your own room and looking at them from, slides and rock climbing and you name it. There's just so much to do on this ship. And it's just massive. And so being able to wave goodbye to those people or even people that's on land when you're pulling away, breathtaking. You can do that right from your balcony room if you have one. Another great, reason to have a balcony room. Now, the suites, of course, this was our first time actually getting a suite, and it is much larger. You actually have a bathtub in the bathroom, and that was so, compared to, the balcony rooms that we've had that were not suites. Oh, it's like now we're not going back down. We're always going to have a suite. And just to have that extra space is amazing. And the extra space relates to the living area. You have your king size bed. You have, of course, your much more, oh gosh, so much more space to be able to store clothing and things like that. Closet space as well. But the living area, you have a sofa, you have tables, you have chairs. It's really, really a full upgrade. And now there's different types of suites now. So just keeping in mind, the up the chain you go pay wise, it becomes larger. So definitely keeping that in mind. And of course, that sofa could turn into a sofa bed if you like, and you still have space for seating in that room. And so definitely keeping that in mind when it comes to the suites, depending on the size that you get. And like I mentioned before in episode 2, you also get that priority boarding when you have a suite as well. Or if you're like a platinum member, diamond, platinum, or diamond plus some type of member it is. But overall, just keeping in mind, it's truly, truly, truly a difference. So those are the different rooms. And Again, the suites, there's different tiers of suites depending on the actual ship that you're on, and they are amazing. They're all amazing, and they're all balcony suites. And so then also, I want to get to briefly the cleaning of the room. As I mentioned in one of the previous episodes, you do have people that just recently got off the ship, right? And they're doing a quick turnover. Those who are considered to be your housekeeping and so forth. Everybody's doing a quick turnover. So the rooms aren't always that clean. My husband and I made sure we packed gloves, we had cleaning wipes, we had spray, and unfortunately, we did have to have our housekeeper to come and change the bed linen. There was hair on the bed linen, and if anybody knows me, I have an aversion to hair if it's not my own. So it's unfortunate, but I don't know where that came from. So every little piece I saw in pillowcases, I'm like, no, can you please come just change this? And everywhere else, we cleaned, and it was definitely necessary. So I say that to say, make sure you're packing gloves, you're packing spray, you're packing cleaning wipes, because you're going to need it. And depending on the ship that you're on, you also want to pack hand wipes. And I'm so glad we did this time, because the previous cruises we did not. And the ones we've taken post COVID and the ships we've been on, every time you go in to go eat, they always make you wash your hands. There's like washing stations and things. But on this ship, they didn't have any washing stations. It's an older ship. And they just had somebody who was giving out hand sanitizer. But you always want to make sure, because people were getting past her, people really didn't get past the washing sinks and them forcing you to stop and wash your hands. But here, some people were getting past her and not even getting any hand sanitizer to clean their hands. So I had my cleaning hand wipes, every time we went to go eat in the main area that is considered the windjammer, because everybody's touching those same utensils to be able to put the food on their plate. So really keeping that in mind as we talk about being clean and making sure you protect yourself on these cruise ships. And so those are just some of the main things. The room, again, making sure you clean extensively, take everything that you need to make sure that you protect you and your family. We have heard of a lot of different unfortunate outbreaks on cruises as it relates to viruses. Norovirus is one of those main unfortunate viruses that we can see. And so you want to make sure you are protecting yourself. But that's all I have to give today, great people. It is the end of July. And as I have said in a previous podcast series, this year is going by super fast, right? If you didn't do anything to enjoy or relax or do anything to improve yourself for the month of July, it's over now. You have August beginning tomorrow. So just try and try again, right? Get up and do it again. Something to improve yourself, something to, enjoy yourself with, and just reflect. The summer is fastly almost over, and we have a new series coming up for the month of August. Tune in, or it may just be, a few topics here and there until we get settled after school. That might be a little bit of a hint, but definitely keeping that in mind. We have a new series starting in August, and do something that you love. Do something that's going to improve you, whether that's your health, whether that's your mental stamina. Just do something, all right? Now, this is Melisia Talks, where we talk all things uniquely you. And until next time, bye.